Good morning, afternoon, evening, wherever you are in the world. My name is Josh. This is Talking Smarks. We're actually getting started a little bit earlier ahead of time today. We're actually going to do a little bit of an early morning episode here. This is March 4th, 2024, the day after AEW Revolution. We did end up staying up a little bit late to watch the show, but it was so worth it. That might have been some of the best $50 that I have ever spent. The card up and down, top to bottom, was an absolutely stacked card. There were no filler matches on this show. Every single match was just absolutely just off the chain incredible. There's definitely some match of the year candidates right here just on this show, all in this 4-hour block. We had Eddie Kingston versus Bryan Danielson for the Continental Championship. Just an absolute physical brawl of a match. We had the BCC of Jon Moxley and Claudio Castagnoli taking on FTR in an absolutely brutal slugfest as well. We had the display of athletic prowess of Will Ospreay and Konosuke Takeshita. That was a Wrestle Kingdom match that we had right in the middle of an AEW pay-per-view. It was absolutely incredible. But the meat of all of this, the bread and butter, the reason that the Greensboro Coliseum was sold out, the reason they had almost 17,000 people in there last night, was the final hurrah, the final swan song of the Stinger, the final showtime. It finally happened. Sting's official retirement match. And this was absolutely incredible. The build to it was great as well, when you had Sting and Darby Allin winning the AEW Tag Team Championships from Big Bill and Ricky Starks, only to get attacked by these even more heelish EVPs, the Young Bucks, Matthew and Nicholas Jackson. And this just continued all the way until Revolution. They actually attacked Sting's sons as well, which had never happened up to this point in all of the years of Sting's career. No one had ever taken it to these lengths before. The Young Bucks certainly did, and the final match ended up being a tornado tag match for the AEW World Tag Team Championships, which means that anything goes. And this match, just the way everything was set up, you had Ric Flair, who appeared to have maybe potentially going to be double-crossing Sting, ended up being actually on Sting's side. He came out, was at ringside for the match, your special guest timekeeper. You had Ricky the Dragon Steamboat also at ringside for this match. And then the entrance itself was absolutely incredible. This might have been almost like a 7-minute long entrance, but it was worth every second. You had Sting in a movie theater. They showed a video package up on screen of him going into an empty movie theater, watching highlights of his career. You see all the emotional responses on his face from some of the greatest moments. And he finally goes, "It's showtime. For the last time. Let's do this." Then you hear Sting's normal AEW music play. You think, oh, it's just going to be one of his, regular AEW entrances. But then he has two sons. One of his sons comes out in the Surfer Sting gimmick, and both his sons look pretty well apart. Then you get his other son coming out with the NWO Wolfpack Sting gear on, which was absolutely incredible. Before Sting finally comes out, they were able to get Seek and Destroy by Metallica, which was used during All in London at Wembley Stadium. They were able to get it one more time for Sting's final match. Crowd goes absolutely nuts. Sting comes out, all the gear, the crow gimmick. It was absolutely incredible. As for the match itself, if you thought you were just going to get a regular old tornado tag match, no, you were dead wrong. This was terrifying. This was frightening in all of the best ways. Right from minute one, you have weapons being used, tables, chairs, you have glass. Yes, Sting in a death match for his final match. It just might as well have been a death match at this point. This was absolutely brutal. You knew it was going to be brutal when just one of the opening spots was Sting taking a suplex off of the stage into a couple of tables. And that was just the beginning. You had arguably the most frightening spot perhaps ever in the history of AEW, and that's saying a lot. Perhaps the most frightening spot of Darby Allin's career, which is also saying a lot, because that man, he is prone to doing some extremely terrifying spots. You had Darby going for a swanton off of the ladder onto one of the EVPs, only to get saved out of the way, and you have Darby going through a makeshift table made up of chairs and glass, and almost instantly you see Darby Allin's back just sliced up and start just dripping blood all over. It was quite a gruesome sight. You had Sting himself go through a pane of glass, but he had a shirt on and he had his whole gear on, so didn't get nearly as sliced up as Darby did. No, Darby got torn to shreds. And as this match goes on, just the brutality keeps on in several utterly terrifying spots as the Young Bucks look to put Sting out of his misery. They grab the AEW tag title belt. They're about to smash it into his skull. Ric Flair pops up and goes, no, that's it, no more. Actually goes to cover and protect Sting, only for him to end up eating a super kick party from the Young Bucks. Ricky the Dragon Steamboat also climbs up onto the apron, tries to talk the Bucks out of it. He also eats a super kick, which is a shocking sight. These two legends, these two old men, especially Ric Flair, who really shouldn't be doing anything inside of a wrestling ring given his age and his health issues, just eating a super kick. The Dragon selling the super kick like he had just been hit by a car. This was absolutely brutal. And in a rare deviation from wrestling tradition, here, let me clue you in, folks, if you've never seen this. Typically, wrestling tradition is if you're having a retirement match, you go out on your back, you lose, and whoever pins you, whoever your opponent is in that retirement match, is supposed to get the rub. The honor being like the person who retired this legend. In a very, very rare deviation from this tradition, Sting picks up the win. His entire AEW run, he was undefeated. He was never pinned. He never tapped out. He retires a champion. This was an absolutely tremendous ending. Sting got to go out on his own terms. There were no politics about it. There was no backstage fighting about it. Sting got to choose who he wanted to face and how he wanted to face them. There was an interview that came out a few days prior to Revolution that he said he wanted to put on one last classic Sting match, a last match that people would never forget, and they absolutely achieved. This was absolutely incredible. As for the AEW tag team titles, well, with Sting retiring, of course, they were vacated, and a tournament is about to start here soon to crown the next AEW World Tag Team Champions. This was an absolutely incredible show. I am so happy to have been able to watch the whole thing start to finish. Like I said, some of the best $50 I may have ever spent. And as for everything else, just being a fan of Sting, I was just a wee little one when the Crow gimmick first started, everything with the NWO. All I can say is just thank you, Sting. Thank you for all of the memories. You are one of the best to ever do it, not just as a wrestler, but you are just one of the absolute best men that this industry has ever seen. You are an example that people in those that men and women in those locker rooms should strive for, not just as a great talent, but just as a great person. Regardless of everything that may have happened previously in your life that you have alluded to in other interviews, other magazine stories, despite all of that, you remained a great person. You are somebody to look up to. You are somebody to strive for. Thank you for all of the memories. Thank you so much. Enjoy retirement. Thank you for making us feel like a kid again, watching you take on the bad guys and the hero winning. Just thank you so much, Sting. And that about does it for today's episode. We will be back next week. And we thank you all so much for listening, and you all have a great rest of your day.